Okay, so we're talking the home buying process, and you might think, who's buying homes in this nasty weather? But the truth is, the real estate market in Rochester is heating up. And with us is someone who knows a lot about it and with some advice on finding an agent that you can work with. And we're talking about real estate agent Mark Siwiec here to talk about choosing that agent. And thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Good morning.
We were talking earlier. Jen asked you how many years you've been in the business. You said 25 years.
25 years, yeah.
Okay, so you know a little bit about this.
A little bit, yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully I won't make a fool of myself this morning.
I think oftentimes people say, oh, well, I have my mom's friends, sisters, what have you. They sort of like some sort of relationship when they go, we'll see if they work out in terms of, selling or buying a home. Maybe there's another method that makes a little bit more sense?
Actually, that's a really great method. So long as the person who is making the referral has had some first-hand experience with the agent that they're talking about. Okay. So if it's, my third cousin, he just started in the business, don't go that route. But if it's somebody who's had a good experience, and that's what you really want, somebody who's had a great experience with an agent here in town, that's the best. But you also want to make sure that the agent that you're thinking of working with is somebody who's been in the business for a long period of time, a minimum of 3 or 4 years, because you've got to get some experience under your belt. You want to make sure that they're actually qualified for the neighborhood that you're looking to buy in.
How can you tell that? Because that's important. I know I live in the city, and I look to see, I see a lot of names frequently. I see the same names over and over and over, and I tend to think that those people know what the neighborhood's like.
You're absolutely right. So if somebody were to call me to list a property in Batavia, I would actually turn that opportunity down. I don't know the first thing about selling in Batavia.
Okay.
So you want to actually interview the agent that you're actually, so it's just like anything else. It's going to be one of the largest financial transactions that you make during the course of your lifetime. You want to make sure you're doing it correctly. Interview prospective agents and ask them how long they've been selling. Ask them where they sell and whether or not they're selling a lot in the neighborhood that you're thinking of buying in. And then find out how much they're actually selling. Because if somebody's telling you they're selling only $1 million or $2 million worth of real estate every year, it means that they're not actually selling a lot. You want to make sure that you're finding somebody selling a minimum of 3 or 4 million, preferably $5 million or above, because they're a real pro.
But that doesn't mean anything to me. When you say 3 million, I'm thinking, I don't know how many houses that is, right? Do I ask the number of properties, or do I ask a total number, cumulative number?
Either the average sale price here in Rochester is probably about $125,000, $150,000. So if somebody's selling $3, $4 million worth of real estate every year, they're selling 30, 40, 50 properties a year. So yeah, so they're most likely an experienced agent. You also want to make sure that there are a lot of, still believe it or not, part-time agents out there. You want to make sure that you're hiring somebody who's a full-time agent. Somebody's going to be available to you on a Saturday night at 7 o'clock if you should have a question.
I like that. It's interesting.
How can you, they might tell you some numbers. How do you double check that?
Well, thankfully, the internet. There's a lot going on the internet. But you can ask around. You can ask around. You can ask people to actually, all right, so you sold $3 or $4 million. Could you give me a list of all those properties? And they can pull that information off the multiple listing service, provide it to you. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
All right, let's talk real estate trends. I say now that it's this, I would think this is a slow time of year. But maybe I'm wrong. You tell me. When does the market start to heat up in Rochester? And what are the, I don't know, if you could forecast the year for Rochester?
I think you used the word heat up in the correct sense of the term. January, we had a rather mild month.
Sure.
And sales for Nathaniel Realtors were up 20%. My sales, my team and I, we were up 67% over January of last year. February comes along, all of a sudden it started getting colder.
Drop off.
And yeah, so we're actually at about 3/4 of what we sold in February of last year. The market right now is, it's almost a tightly wound coil, and we've got buyers lined up. We've got sellers lined up. I think that once the winter starts to pass, once temperatures start to rise and some of the snow starts to melt, I think the whole thing is just going to explode.
And that will change then if it's a buyer's or seller's market?
Yeah, all indications right now look as if sellers might actually have a little bit of an advantage. So
right now?
Yeah.
Okay, but once it thaws, literally.
Yeah. So we'll know in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. The market really starts to express itself, and you get a sense as to what kind of market you've got sometime in the middle of March.
So you believe it will thaw eventually?
Wait, we're talking about the weather, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's hope. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you very much.
So good talking to you.
All right, coming up, delicious desserts for your Oscar party this weekend.